All right, welcome back to another episode of SG Live. My name's Nathan. I'm joined with Mark, CEO of Statement Games. What's going on, Mark?
What's going on, Nathan? Doing all right? Keeping busy.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so we've put together 2 weeks of Statement Games videos. I think one more and we're on a roll, but that's we're kind of back, I guess. We were just talking beforehand just about all of the stuff that's going on between both of us as far as like um, how busy our schedules have become. So we'll be going into a little bit regarding all that with the questions today. But Mark, where's your head at? Like, how are you exhausted from your schedule? Like, are you exhilarated? What's going on?
No, I mean, I got a little. I have a lot of energy. Sometimes, and it's definitely kind of like a challenge that I, need to just do a better job with regards to managing. But sometimes when I feel like I have a lot on my plate, I start beating myself up a little bit here when I just simply don't have the ability to click that checkbox or to scratch something off the to do list. And I can't even kind of
Mhm.
speak here. So I just need to kind of like realize, all right, it's all right. Get your priority number ones done first. Take care of that.
Yep.
And if something needs to kind of like drift off until like the following day, that's fine. So I'm just doing a better job in terms of scheduling and making sure that just big milestones or big kind of tasks are completed by a certain kind of time. Like for example, I had to get like a proposal out today, and I'm
Mhm.
working with you on, and I just kind of had all right, at some point between 2 and 6 o'clock, just get this thing kind of out. So I just kind of feel by taking things like that, it looks a little bit colorful when you're scheduling these things in your Outlook box. But it's just easier for me as opposed to like putting in like a 15 to 30 minute task at 2 o'clock, and then like at 2:45 when you realize that this thing hasn't kind of like been done here, you start beating the hell out of yourself here for not kind of like getting it done. Give yourself
Mm.
like a nice little kind of like chunk of time. It's there, whether it gets done at 2:30, 3, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It doesn't matter. You're just giving yourself
Yeah.
like a good 2 or 3 hours, a good chunk of time to get that task kind of like done.
That's interesting, especially that you use like a digital task manager in that way. Because I'm actually all analog when it comes to that. I've got a calendar book right here that I write things in, and then when it comes down to like things to do, I just make lists. I have little pieces of paper everywhere that are just
I
like,
have little
hey,
pieces of paper anywhere, and little notepads like this that are kind of like
yeah,
full of notes. I got little notepads like over here.
hey, I
I
got
take notes in like multiple different kind of like pieces of like scrap paper and things like that, and I
a
kind
little
of figure
pocket
it's
book.
just easier if just get this thing kind of like jotted down at the end of the day here. Just I live by Outlook. Start taking
Mm,
all your kind of key notes and prioritizing them into tasks on a daily basis. So yeah,
nice.
I pretty much have pieces of paper and pads kind of like all over the place here, and I just gotta take a look at all of it at the end of the day and just prioritize your tasks in Outlook the following day. That's pretty much how I live.
Yeah, I think it's very important, especially for what we do, to end your day looking at the next day. There's so many times it'll be, granted, I stay up really late. I'm more of you know, uh, a night person, so I'll work until 3 a.m. And it usually by the time I'm really kind of winding down, I'll pull out my notepad and I'll write the next day's date, and I'll just go through everything that's in my head. Okay, these things need to get done, and I'll put them down, and it just lets me have a good night's sleep because I'm not going to bed thinking, okay, I need to remember this tomorrow. I can't forget this, because there's been so many times where you wake up the next morning, you've totally forgot it. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
plus, it just helps me to remember and to really lock in on certain things here when I first write things down on a piece of paper. For me, it's college and school all over the place here. I mean, I'm very sporadic and I'm very kind of like unorganized in terms of writing notes on a notebook or a piece of paper. To me, the process really takes form and shape here when I reorganize those thoughts in a digital format that's
Hmm.
constructed in a way and designed in a way to help keep you kind of like organized. That's I
Yeah.
didn't want to necessarily go off on an organizational tangent, but that's
Well,
that's
it's
kind of
important stuff. I
yeah.
mean, that's I think it's interesting, and especially to me, because organization is like, if I don't have it, it's I'll be working on a task and then I'll get a phone call in with, a new task. And then next thing I know, I'm working on that new task and I've forgotten the old one. So it's important for me to stay organized. And I think, people out there that are, entrepreneurs or, working the business understand that, and it's important to talk about. But so like I said before, 2 weeks in a row, any updated general company news, pilots, partnership deals, like what's the new info since we last talked?
I mean, it's definitely a few more investor pitches that are taking place throughout the duration of this week. They're being run and organized by like the Hype program here. So, in a couple of these things here, I don't exactly know who the I guess seed or angel investors are that are hearing the pitch kind of like on the other end of like the spectrum here. I will be kind of like a privy to obviously to questions that are being asked to me. That will actually give me a little bit more exposure to who's kind of like there, who's listening, whose interest am I peaking, or am I kind of like not am I not getting anything? I mean, we'll have to see kind of like what happens. As I alluded to before here, we got two fairly decent sized initial, let's just call them high level overview proposals. They're introductory proposals. They're supposed to be or they're meant to be work in progress kind of like documents. They do kind of like require feedback from the partners that we're potentially working with. I mean, one of them is kind of like major. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not sure if I'm going to probably get that opportunity here, but it's just kind of like good to go through like these exercises and continuously get the feedback, back from the people that we're connecting with. But there's some, pretty big companies that we're having an opportunity to pitch, and we'll kind of see how it goes here. Had a couple of additional, partnership opportunities that kind of came about kind of like the last week here. I guess
Hmm.
I don't know, we'll see how this interview goes or this kind of like session goes, and if I need to kind of like get into to new detail, but still kind of like working with the All About the Birds network.
Hmm.
Definitely having a little trouble in terms of connecting with them and getting like that first podcast that would be featured on network kind of out the door here. Our schedules have been kind of crazy. We'll get it to work here. It's just been a little bit of a challenge and kind of locking that down. So other than that, that's the one partnership that we have finalized. We just haven't been able to take like that next step. But we'll get there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what do you when you do these partnerships, when you get pitches from people that maybe they're cold emailing you or whatever, what are the like tips that you have for people contacting you? Um, and what are some of the things that you've noticed that people have done wrong that maybe they should correct?
Well, I think you kind of went through like a little bit of a similar situation here. I'm not necessarily going to call these people out here. I mean, they're extremely kind of small, and I kind of figuring
Hmm.
things like that here. Although, hey, look, I'm not necessarily you know the size of FanDuel just yet here, but I
Yeah.
think I have something pretty decent and going here. But people reach out to all the time. They're looking to explore partnerships in various different opportunities with them here. So in terms of what not to do, I mean, you got to show up. Don't
Yep.
not show up. So it was another mixed martial arts group
Hmm.
that reached out about like a couple weeks ago. We exchanged a couple different ideas on via kind of email. We agreed on a time and a date to have an initial kind of Zoom call. I sent out the details, and this was kind of not last week, but towards the tail end of the week, kind of before that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a Zoom call. I mean, if you figure through COVID-19 here, I think everyone is fairly familiar with Zoom calls, but I guess these people had a little bit of a challenge. I just got a bad. I didn't necessarily have a warm and fuzzy feeling from these guys to kind of like begin with. But
Mhm.
you, hey, like we talked about on the last show, you never know who you're talking to. You take the calls, you kind of see what happens. So the call was scheduled for like a Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
Sent out the Zoom invite, put everything, all the login details into a nice Outlook, invite, sent out kind of like a meeting request with all the details in there. Obviously, the partner didn't show up. So kind of like around like, 2:10, I sent out an email saying, hey, always give people the benefit of the doubt. Let me know if you're having problems logging in. I'm on the
Yep.
bridge. Let me know if there's any challenges. By 2:15, I'm kind of like, out. This was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:15. I got a
Mhm.
reply to my email at 6 o'clock that same day saying, hey, I
Okay.
had problems. I had problems logging in. So I was like, all right, you know what? If you're having problems logging in, why you're responding at 6 o'clock at night and not at 2:10 to kind of 15? But again,
Mhm.
never spoke with this person. You always give them the benefit of the doubt. So a day goes by. I was like, all right, you know what? The heck with this kind of guy. Like I got other things going on when I get to it. He actually follows back up with me again like that Monday. Hey, you know what? Didn't hear from you. Just kind of wanted to follow up. Wanted to see if we can kind of reconnect and get those get the initial call kind of on the way. So it's like, all right, you know
Yeah.
what? Maybe this guy is not a complete goofball or something like that. Let me give him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, all right, well, can on this day, same time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, work? He's like, fine by me. Please resend all the information. So I was like, all right, resend all the information. 2 o'clock shows up this past
Oh
Monday,
no. Yep.
no show again. So I guess my advice on things on what not to do when trying to develop a partnership is to not blow your partner off 2 times in a row. And
Yeah.
since then, there's been
Mhm.
no correspondence or feedback from no, hey, no, no, I'm sorry. No, I dropped the ball. Absolutely nothing. It's been 3 or 4 days. So basically, my uh, I'll never work with this kind of like guy ever again, just because of a
Yeah.
look. When you're developing partnerships here, the one thing that you always look for is, does somebody's actions match the words that they're putting on kind of paper? And if you don't have the ability to
Right.
show up for an initial call 2 times in a row here, I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had actually a couple no calls or no shows on calls come up recently. What do you how long do you wait uh until you start? You said kind of like 10 minutes, but like how long will you give someone before you just cancel the call and like move on?
I will. I'll stay on there, full attention for about kind of 5 minutes. By about kind of
Okay.
two by 2:05, I'll have the call kind of on, but I'll start now looking kind of at emails and
Yep.
other things like going on too. By 10 minutes after the call has started, if somebody hasn't actually joined, and under the assumption that they haven't reached out to me, expressing some type of challenge or whatever it is, I'll send some
Yep.
type of follow-up note saying, hey, you know what, I am on the bridge. I'll be on here for another 10 minutes, is what I'll say, kind of like in the note. Let me know if there's
Mhm.
any challenges, anything like that. But in reality, after an additional 5 minutes has passed, I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I usually give people a little bit more time just because, I mean, that's not my full attention. That's me just having the call up and probably working on something else. But I've gone as far as like 20 minutes and then
Yeah.
I'll send a text just say like, hey, like if you want to reschedule, let me know. And the 2 times that has happened, I have been able to reschedule them. One of them turned out to be an emergency, so, like, fully understand. I'm not gonna family, stuff like that comes first in all this stuff. But
Sure.
the other one was just kind of like a misconnection, which was weird because all of the information, it was multiple days of messaging, and at no point was I said, like told, like, "Oh, I didn't get it," or, because I would say like, okay, I sent you the information. Let me know that you've gotten it, and didn't get anything. And but when I rescheduled that call, they were, pretty good. It was, I'm glad that I was able to reschedule it, talk to them. But one weird kind of interaction that I've had, and it's actually been going on for about 4 years with this company. And I won't, really say, it's kind of the same thing you brought up earlier. I won't go into who it is, but they've contacted me almost yearly over the last 4 years. And their initial partnership plan really didn't benefit me much at all as a content creator, as a publisher, someone that wants me to go in and do work for you. And they wanted to essentially pay me in credit within their app. So not money, and not in an app that could turn into money, but just like fake money and playing their product. Um, which I'll be honest, like, I don't have any will to work for fake money. I don't have will to work for exposure. I can't pay my rent on that. I can't feed my family on pretend money. So I never really did anything. And then the next year they reach back out. Oh, hey, you want to do? But it was always someone new, and they never understood the history of the relationship between the two parties. So it was just a cold email, thinking that it was the first interaction when actually I've got a history with them. So now it's 4 years into this, and they reached out to me about a week ago, and I didn't say anything because most of the time I just don't. But on a reply from them, I did actually, respond, set up a call, and did the whole thing for the first time, with a real like phone call, thinking like, okay, it's been 4 years, maybe they've gotten bigger, maybe they're willing to offer something more. This time they were willing to offer me real money, but the hoops that you had to go through to get it, or actually pull a user through, um it was it kind of like not a lot of money. It was about $25 for every user that I was able to bring into their program, that then deposited a minimum amount of money, which was like $20, then played a game in their platform. Um, so how much effort do I put in as a creator to then have so many people get lost within this path that they've
So this
defined
is
in
a
front?
fantasy sports provider, or is this a gambling company?
It would be fantasy sports slash gambling. I don't think they went so far as being really full DFS, but
Okay.
it was like, I don't really know, because like their game didn't interest me. So like they pitched it to me, and I couldn't see myself doing it. And so I couldn't imagine myself convincing anyone to play their game.
So do you think it
And
was were they startup? Do you think it's more of an established company?
well, they've been around for 4 years, so like, how are you still a startup? Hmm?
Can we blast them? Who is it?
Oh, Thrive Fantasy. You didn't want to blast them earlier, but I don't mind. They've been oh, man, they've just been terrible. So Thrive Fantasy, they have a headquarters in uh Manhattan, so they can't be a startup. Like, what startup has their
I
headquarters
mean,
in
I guess it really
Midtown?
depends. There's so many different definitions of kind of like a startup and things like that. I mean, we'll kind of see what happens, but yeah, I mean that is kind of like a little kind of like surprising as a content creator if somebody is solely offering you a um, I guess some type of payment through Insight or platform credits. I can kind of like see an offer like that being presented to like a new content provider or somebody that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have that big of a base. I think IDP guys is definitely like a little bit more established. So um, I can see kind of like where you're coming from as well. So in that particular
Mm,
scenario, I can actually see both points. I can see where they're coming from because from a
yeah.
Thrive Fantasy Sports perspective, I can't really knock them because I try and do like the same thing. I'm in a little bit of
Mhm.
a different position. I think it's fair to say that from a capital perspective, um, I will go out on a limb and say that yeah, they have to. I mean, they just have to have more capital as of right
Yeah.
now than Statement Games kind of like does. But no, I mean,
Mhm.
I would love to kind of get in a position where I have the ability and the means to pay and bring on more content creators on a paid kind of position. As of right now, the offers and the incentives that I come up with for the creators that I actually work with, they're creative, but then again, I don't have much of a choice. That's the only option that actually
Yeah.
can help here. So, in platform credits, interesting, kind of makes sense here. I understand where they're coming from. I offer the same thing here, but my credits can be exchanged for for cash through the Statement Games
Right.
platform. So it's not
It
necessarily me paying you $50 here, but I got
Yeah.
close to 100 different merchants that are in the reward center here. I mean, at
Mhm.
some point you're going to go shopping somewhere, and this is kind of it is cash. But no, that would kind of like
Yeah.
involve me in where you're getting credits and you have to use those credits to some degree from within the platform in order for you to kind of like cash out. So
Right.
different scenario, but I
And
understand your point. I understand this.
yeah, and I think that it's also like coming to me with a potential partnership doesn't always have to equal me getting money. I think when you start off with money, you put a kind of a mindset in that is like, okay, so we're doing a cash deal. Okay, so it's value, it's a value exchange. And so instead of, finding other things that might be of value to me as the content creator, like tweeting out like my content or trying to give me backlinks, things like that can be shared and develop a relationship,
Well, that's you
you've
hit the nail
gone
right
right
on the head
into the
there.
money.
It's
Yeah.
really kind of having an understanding of what's most important, kind of like to you. I mean, I'm sure if there was other things and it took the time to understand like your business, maybe the $25 is there. But like you had said here, all right, we'll give you $25 a sign up. But plus, we have a domain authority of X and we put out these particular articles or we have these partnerships here. Maybe there's some additional partnerships in the form of a link exchange that would be valuable
Mhm.
to IDP guys here, and you're building the relationship that way. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the problem that you had with the way that that partnership was approached, although it may have not have been intended that way, it just seemed that the partnership was a little too one-sided as
Oh,
opposed
yeah.
to something that was, jointly beneficial. It
Right.
was more, hey,
And
go out and bust your butt, create all this content kind of for us, and if you do a good job in the form of getting us kind of signups here, we'll pay you, or maybe we'll kind of
right.
kick you a couple of dollars here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, also
And
in my experiences from what I actually seen here, I think the payout rate is a little low, but nothing kind of unreasonable. But then
yeah.
again, here for other affiliate kind of marketers and things like that, here if you have a vast kind of network and things like that. If you're that confident in your network, maybe that's kind of like an opportunity for you to get involved with it. But it sounded like in this case here, it wasn't just as simple as that. It was create content, create podcasts, create articles, plug us in through in the form of banner advertisements, like fully do a deep integration with all product and services into your
Yeah.
network and your partners' networks, and which in return is a lot of work and not
Mm.
necessarily any type of guarantee in exchange for that effort.
Yeah, and I did a similar partnership that we just announced with Fantrax, which is a fantasy platform. And in this deal, there's a monthly payment that they give me. And then on top of that, there is increased value where I have like free access to their API so I can pull data at will from their platform, as well as them pushing our content and connecting us with our own ad on their site. I look at it as when I go into these, potential partnership deals as a trade. We're trading value. You want this from me, and I want to get an equal amount of something else in return. And so it doesn't have to always be money, but you can kind of mix and match of all of that stuff.
Sure.
Like, and it's got to be easy. It can't be
Exactly.
like a,
Introductions. I mean, these are all different creative ways that you'd be
Mhm.
kind of like open to a trade.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't
To
put too
add
many
into
hoops
it,
in there.
yeah.
You can't have a user go through 4 or 5 different clicks before you get paid.
And we kind of like talked about that kind of like stuff as well too. So yeah, you also when you're being asked or you're being tasked to do something on a performance basis, you do need to take a look at the steps that the end user needs to go through in order for you to actually get paid. And as
Mhm.
a marketer and as somebody with a network, if you make the decision that, hey, you know what, this process is too complicated, yeah, I mean, you got to make a decision on whether it's kind of worth your time and your effort or if it's kind of not here. I mean,
Yep.
things like that. We've talked about this kind of offline as well here, and we're all right. You know what? If you are confident in that sign up process and you think that kind of works here, if I don't agree with it, well, then let's work out some type of cost per click kind of deal, and where
Yep.
it's my job to take sports fans, specifically from a football background or kind of genre, pass them over to your landing page. And once I've kind of done that, it's your job to convert them. It's not my job to get people to
Right.
go through your conversion process. That's a little outside of the box and might be viewed as cumbersome. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, if you just kind of identify 4 or 5 steps that a user needs to kind of jump through and only be paid $25 as a result of somebody going through those hoops here, you got to be very confident in your ability to sell that product. And of course, before you begin to that point here, you got to be pretty impressed with the product itself.
Right. Yeah. Oh, definitely. And like my partnership with Fantrax, there is a small amount of hoops that a user does have to go through that are involved with that. But I am confident in their product that I am willing to, make
Correct.
that bet
Different,
and go
different,
and do that.
different scenario.
Yeah. And in the sense of like not being necessarily confident in a platform or whatever that I'm selling, I would be 100% willing to drop down to a lower pay rate per click. Give me $2 per every person that comes over rather than
Yeah.
$25 on everyone that's converted in your 4-step process. And I'll probably end up making more money that way because I'll send people over and you'll get flooded with my traffic that'll come through. So,
So
and
you
I've
found
worked.
that the fan track sign up process was a little bit easier friendly and more convenient than the Thrive Fantasy Sports sign up process, in your opinion?
Oh, 100%. Fantrax set me up with a, landing page. So if anyone goes to fantrax.com/IDP guys, you'll be brought right into our landing page. We have the ability to change like our there's an image at the top right now. It's just the contest they're running through the end of June. But afterwards we're gonna be doing some different artwork that's gonna go up there. You just fill out and set up your account and it's the whole two-step process is that you have to set up an account first um, before getting invited into like a specific league that we might be advertising. That way, Fantrax can capture that you came through us and we get credit for it. And then we send you, the invite to the league or whatever. So we can't just go out and start throwing that URL to the league around. Why they do it this way, I kind of talking to them like I didn't I think that the guy that Jordan, who I've spoken with, is great, and he is a very good marketer. I think that he's said it before. He doesn't fully understand the development process, and as someone that does development, I know that they could implement a better system, and that would make their affiliates much happier. But it's, you're dealing with who's in front of you, and you're creating that relationship, and dive bombing it at the beginning is not helpful for anyone. It's, you pull that relationship together, you never know where it goes. And then, when there's the opportune time, inform the right people and say, hey, like this would be a good change.
All right.
So,
So on top of that here, so now I guess you're officially like on record in the fact that the Statement Games game is much better than Thrive Fantasy Sports. I guess is that a fair assessment?
oh, 100%. 100%. Hey,
I
who
mean,
am I
because
talking
it's
to?
almost good,
I'm not talking to Thrive. I'm not talking to
right?
Thrive. I'm talking to Statement Games. So, that, and a lot of that too is, when you initially reached out to me, you went kind of relationship first. You went, let's build a link together, and we've, opportunities just keep passing for both of us. Like, and that's how this has been created to do this.
So we
So
can also go on record and state that my salesmanship efforts are much better than the salesmanship efforts of the individuals that you were speaking to at Thrive Fantasy Sports.
yes, by far, by far. Your salesmanship it's
All
top
right.
of.
I got my compliment for the day. I'm feeling kind of like I'm good.
There you go.
I got a better product.
Uh
I got a better
yeah.
personality, and my ability to deliver a message that is mutually beneficial for all parties is much more concise than that of Thrive Fantasy Sports. I guess that's fact. I mean, we just went through the whole particular process right now as well. But
Yeah. Now
basically,
we just have to work on your football team.
yeah, that's true, and that's why it was kind of like. And look, I understand like in where they're going, and I'm not sure if the sign up process from Thrive was challenging for you because of where you're located geographically. I know that say almost like the sign up process for somebody in the state of Connecticut can differ from somebody from like the state of like New York. Obviously, where
Mm.
gaming is fully regulated and legal from a gaming perspective as well as DFF perspective, like New Jersey, can be completely different as well. So I'm curious, and look, we would actually have to find people in different states to kind of test this out here. I'm just wondering if the challenges that you're seeing with Thrive are a result of where you're located geographically and of what the rules and regulations are. And I think it's fair to
So
say I'm not gonna
what
step
I
on
would
you.
say,
You live in the state of Connecticut, so
yeah.
I'm wondering if that's kind of different. But I don't know, just
So
to keep in
what I
mind.
would say regarding that is the other thing I watch out for is who is getting around as a who everyone is selling, because there are those brands that go out, and if they see podcast in your name or
Yeah,
fantasy football, they send mass emails, they send mass DMs. And so Thrive is one of those companies that I can pull up my Twitter feed and find 6 or 7 people stumping for Thrive throughout,
gotcha.
the community. So it's saturated. And that's the other thing is, like, why am I going to try and market or sell a product in a saturated market? And all of these other platforms, they all have their own, like, they probably went on Fiverr and had paid for someone to create a graphic for them. And
Got
all of them have the same steps. They say,
okay.
make sure you
Interesting.
deposit the $25, make sure you play in a game, please support us. That's, the point we get paid.
And then you know what? At that point, if you're a pot, that's not bad. If you're kind of
Yeah.
like starting out and you have a couple of people within your network and your loyal followers and things like that. I mean, yeah, I offer similar kind of stuff, but yeah, just kind of interesting. I can see where you're coming from. I can see where it can actually be value for others. I can actually see where people would jump on it and not necessarily to knock them, so to speak, here, but they're doing it because they don't necessarily have, say, like the acumen that you and I have, having gone through processes like this for a few years now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you just flipped on your podcast for the first time and you're building an audience, why not? Especially if it's just a hobby. The problem is, this isn't a hobby for me. This is my
Yeah.
job. So every time I put effort into something, if it doesn't pay out, then I've essentially worked for free. So I can't do that.
Yeah, and I look as somebody kind of like that does this. Where you just for the podcasts that are out there that might be checking this out here, just keep in mind that from a publisher's perspective, like a Thrive or a Statement Game, something like that here, especially at my particular stage here, if I am going to allocate resources in the form of cash
Mhm.
to another particular network, resources that are it, invaluable to me because
Yep.
there's just not enough of it. You better be damn sure that the resources that you're allocating towards that better deliver a result that is going to be the most kind of conducive to you. That could be
Mhm.
in the form of signups and things like that here. But what you also got to understand is that, look, Thrive is getting, backlinks and other search engine optimization things that benefit them, and you're not necessarily getting anything in return for that. So that's where I see where your effort kind of
Yeah.
comes into play. If Throw's like, all
Oh,
right, look,
absolutely.
what we got a newsletter or we got like this, or hey, you know what, you got some type of subscription product, maybe we can help push some of our subscribers kind of your way here. That would be something from a partnership angle that I'm sure your ears would perk up on.
Absolutely. 100%. That is definitely nailing it right there because I'm just looking at the value exchange for my time and effort. What am I getting in return? And how likely am I to be able to semi guarantee that? Obviously I can't guarantee that if you also push my subscription that I will get a signups or monetary value from that, but I'm
Yeah.
still getting marketing.
Yes, correct.
In abstract form, I am getting a product back or a service,
And
and that service
you're
has a
not getting
value.
from them back. No,
Yeah,
makes sense. No, it's a. I mean, we can probably talk about this topic
yeah,
for
for a
an
long time.
extended kind of period of time, and I don't know. Maybe we should circle back and cover out a couple of different notes here. I think there's other questions that I can relate to this topic that we'll have to address on a future show.
All right, well,
Cool.
it was a great, conversation about all this. We could go on and on forever, and maybe there is circling back, we can do it in later shows, different topics to go more in depth, but, Mark, it was great catching up again for, a second week in a row. We will see how things work out next week, but for everyone out there, make sure you are following on all social medias at Statement Games, YouTube, subscribe, Statement Games Inc. And of course, make sure you're playing statementgames.com on your browser or your mobile device. Mark,
Right, you heard
always,
it. We're better than Thrive.
yeah,
Came
you heard
directly.
it
This
here.
came from you. So if you
Yep.
put it out there, it's on record. We are better.